a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want.
Hey guys, Coach Dan here. I've been lifting for over 20 years. I hold a degree in exercise and sports science, and I've been coaching lifters for 10 plus years. This channel is all about evidence-based hypertrophy or muscle growth training. Today I'm going to take you through my pull workout. I'm going to show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and give you all the tips so you can execute and take into your own training to improve it to the best it can be. So as mentioned, today being a pull workout, we're going to start with a row variation that I've been really liking lately. A little bit unusual, but very effective. I'm calling it the kneeling hammer strength row, which takes this hammer strength plate loaded row machine and turns it into almost a pull down, which you'll see here in a second. So one of the things to keep in mind about some of these plate loaded machines is these hinges. So whenever a hinge is furthest away, or that's the longest, it's the hardest. So in this kind of position, if I was just to do a standard row on here, it is easy at the beginning and it gets harder. I want to make it harder at the beginning and get easier, right? So we're going to do a kneeling version, which is going to be me pulling the weight back here, and we're going to be doing it there. So let's give you a demo real quick, and then I'll discuss why. So we strap in like such. We pull the weight down into this kind of position, and then we pull down like such. So essentially when we're out there, you can see that that is the furthest it is away at the beginning, so hard, and then as it gets above the hinge point, it's easier. So this is potentially quite effective for muscle growth, being hard in the stretch position and easier in that shortened position. That's number one. Number two, we're thinking now it's a lower lat kind of movement because this is angling and pulling down and targeting towards the lower lat. So what I've done over the course of a couple of weeks to set this up is kind of line it up such that it is heading towards my lower lats. So in this kind of position here, and then we're pulling the arm down into that kind of position there. So since doing this, I really like it. The other focus for me with back training at the moment is really focusing, or lat specifically, taking this part of the arm, pulling it down to feel, or pulling it back to feel the lats really effectively. And it's going quite well. So we're happy with that. We've got a quiet gym, early session, about 4 a.m. start. So let's get in there. Let's start off with 3 sets here, and then we'll move on. The other thing that I'm focusing on today is upper back. So I've got a couple little tips and tricks to kind of get my upper back training and improve that. Let's get it. So I think one of the cool things about training is that you can always improve and get a little better, whether it's technique or strength or whatever it might be. And I found with my lat training, or lat bias training particularly, the last couple of weeks I've really hit my straps, and I've been training for a while now. And suddenly, you know, you give yourself this little tip or cue or whatever it might be, and you feel the sensation of things getting a bit better and stuff like that. And you can always do that and tweak that, which is pretty cool. So those pull down variations, again, the focus for me is thinking about, okay, the lat's job is to pull this part of the arm to different parts on our back and our pelvis. So I'm focusing on that, pulling that to those points. And now with this one, we go a horizontal version. So now I'm going from here and I'm pulling that into those points. So we've got a seated row. We've got a mag grip, which is one of these grips where you wrap your fingers around, but any neutral, underhand, overhand, narrow type grip would be appropriate here. It's your choice. This one feels pretty good to me. So essentially I place my feet on, grab my grip, push me away. I like to lean forward, but chest proud, so we get a big stretch through the lat, and then pulling in like such. Now, for this particular one, you could be, or I for a long period of time, was probably rowing too high and getting that high amount of elbow flexion, almost like a bicep curl. And the tip for this one that I've kind of worked on lately is rowing low, such that it is my lat and not as much my bicep. So we're still getting some elbow flexion, which means the bicep has to work. But instead of it being like this much, it's now this much. And I'm driving this part of my arm around my back. So we've got that other version, which you would call a vertical pull in this program. It's a unique one that kind of comes and then comes down, whatever you want to call it. But it's driving the arm down ultimately. This one's now about driving the arm this way. So that would be my tip for this one. Where here we drive the arm back and we're not sort of pulling up towards our chest, and then you focus on pulling it around in towards the spine to squeeze that lat nice and tight. It has reduced the amount of weight that I've lifted, but the stimulus is where I want it. It's more in the lats than it was before, and eventually we'll progress in strength again, and it will be because the right muscle is getting better. All right, let's keep it rolling. Okay, now we move into our upper back bias stuff, so all that stuff done. Strength not super good today, so I think maybe I'm having some effects from this diet phase. So yesterday afternoon started to feel some general lethargy, just general feelings of tired and lack of motivation. So maybe we're starting to get some of those effects. So we'll have to try and work on strategies to counteract that. But yeah, they both still feel effective, just the strength or the improvement's not awesome. So okay, so now we move on to a chest supported row. So if we're thinking about the upper back or the traps, we're thinking about moving the shoulder blades this way and this way, or raising them up or raising them down. So essentially that's what we're focused on here. We can use the chest pads to kind of allow that, assist that, essentially like round around the chest pad, so like that protraction of the scapula, so the rolling forward and the squeeze back. Now this is where I think there's a lot of room for improvement for me. It's my upper back training. I just don't feel as if I can use it the way I do my lats or other muscle groups. So I've got one little strategy I'm going to finish sets off with called Kelso shrugs. So after I finish my full range of motion rows and I can't do any more, I'm going to reset and essentially just do a backward shrug like so. So the idea here is, we get that squeezing of the shoulder blades. It's essentially like a partial rep. So if I can no longer finish this, but my traps haven't gone quite close to failure, I'll stay in that position and squeeze them back, squeeze them back, squeeze them back. And this is going to be a strategy I work with all my upper back movements, so this one and the next one, as well as potentially I might have them as sets of their own eventually. So get an exercise where I just do kelso shrugs. So we shall see how it goes with this. This is my first week introducing it, so we'll see. So chest supported row, chest on the pad, reach over, grab the handle here, and I'm thinking about keeping my chest proud, letting my shoulders roll forward, squeeze the shoulders at the back. At the end, when I can no longer do full range, it's going to be squeeze, 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 to finish it off. So I think it could be okay. It also might be I'll be so fatigued by the end I can't focus on that kelso shrug. But in that scenario, maybe next week I can try doing it as sets of their own. So do my sets on here and then kelso shrugs afterwards, or do my, find a spot for them to have their own spot so they are fresh. All right, let's get started on upper back. Alright, second and final upper back movement, we have the plate loaded low row. So that row variation sort of came horizontally. There's that squeeze of the shoulder blades horizontally somewhat. This one now comes up slightly. If we think about the upper back, potentially it's got multiple different functions. Well, not potentially, it has multiple different functions. The traps can both do this. They can shrug your shoulder blades back, and they can also depress. So potentially to train them overall, we want to be sort of ticking all those boxes across time. Doesn't have to be in the same workout the same week, but across time, maybe you should do movements that are kind of up and back or straight up for the upper traps, back or down, or to your preference. If you feel like you've got one area that's more developed than others, you can kind of leave them out. So if you feel like your upper traps are pretty big already, you don't necessarily have to stand there doing that all day. So for me, it's traditionally lower traps, and this is what I've been working on with my upper back training recently. I can't really get that great retraction and depression, so bringing the scapulars down. So there's some work-ons there for me. At this particular gym, that row variation's pretty good, but all the other chest supported variations or bent over rows, they don't feel great to me. So I'm returning back to this low row, which I've done before, but again, I have now sort of have more focus on my upper back or my traps, and I've got a few things I want to work on and improve. So just like all chest supported rows, reach over. I've got my straps here ready to go. Strap in, sit back with it, chest proud, shoulders backing up for this one, control, backing up. And then same for this one as well. When I finish being able to do full range, I'm just going to do little shrugs back. So protraction, retraction, and this slight upward elevation. So those kelso shrugs, that horizontal shrug that I finished the set off with there, it's not bad. Again, these are things that are big work-ons for me, so keep working on them, keep finding little ways to improve it. And yeah, that's that. Upper back, that's a weak point for me. So it's cool that you can kind of see these things improve, you know, if you've been doing things for a long period of time and you realize, oh, there's a hole in my game, or I can fill that hole, and you can see progression like being a beginner again. So that's pretty cool, and that's an optimistic viewpoint, which is unusual for me. All right, let's choose our weight. So last time I was doing this, technique was different as well. I think one of the things I've been working on lately with upper back training is not sort of letting my spine round over the pad as much. Still use the pad, but keep my chest proud. So chest proud, let the scapulars move around the spine and then squeeze around the spine, versus doing this and this. So less flexion and erection of the spine and more leave the spine, move the shoulders. Okay, let's find our weight. Okay, back work done, or more specifically lats and upper back, because I'm going to do some rear delt stuff here in a second. So it is a bit difficult to be a beginner again when you spend a lot of time doing something, but my upper back training, I feel like I'm almost a beginner again. How do I feel it? How do I squeeze it? What am I going to do to keep progressing that? So that's hard, but I think, you know, the opposite of that is letting your ego get in the way and staying shit or not getting better. So bring the ego down, have that beginner mindset again to see if we can't progress and focus on a particular part of my back that could really emphasize my back overall. So it might take some resetting of weights, it might take some time, it might take annoyance, it might take all these things, but eventually, long term, it will lead to better progress. Short-term pain, long-term gain, as they say. Okay, next up, we're going a decline bicep curl and a machine rear delt fly to finish. Now, if you watch any of my videos, you potentially think I have a massive boner, a big old erection over supersets. But I that's probably true actually, but I like them not because they are more effective. I like them because they can get me more work in a shorter period of time, and we just don't have infinite time. Well, I personally don't have infinite time. Well, nobody has infinite time. But for me, save a little bit of time. We're at the end of the workout. I've already been here a while. I can go here, walk over here, and I'm doing 5 sets of each of these. So that's a while. If I do 5 sets of this with, 1 to 2 minutes break in between, then go on and do 5 sets of that with 1 to 2 minutes, like, we're going to be here a while. So I don't necessarily have a boner because they're more effective. I have a boner because they're more efficient. Do you know what? I do actually get erections over efficiency. Don't judge me. Anyway, decline bicep curl, maybe all-time favorite exercise. Machine rear delt fly is okay and easy to set up, and that's what I'm about for that muscle group at the moment. So I've got 2 dumbbells, I've got a decline bench. I use these straps here as well, just again, anything to try to chill my grip out, I'll do, so I can focus all on my biceps. Bring them up onto your lap as if you're going to do a bench press or anything like that. Lay back with them on the decline. You could do this on the flat as well. Let the elbow extend, feel that bicep stretch, and then curl. Stretch, and then curl, and then we finish, dump them down. So that is portion number 1 of the superset. In between, I'll probably jot down some reps on my phone in my program. I'll walk over here, and then I'll go rear delt fly, straight after that. So these muscle groups shouldn't affect each other too much, which is one of the big advantages of doing supersets like this. There are other superset variations where we pre-fatigue things. This isn't that. This is, yeah, a antagonist muscle superset, or, well, they're not antagonists necessarily, but they're not the same muscle, so they shouldn't affect each other too much, and in my experience so far, they haven't. Now, an interesting thing that I'm doing with this rear delt fly variation is I'm internally rotating my arm, my arm, and therefore hopefully getting a bigger stretch on the rear delt. The rear delt being a muscle that attaches to the scapula, so it's sort of coming past here, and then to the deltoid tuberosity, potentially has some function of external rotation, and therefore internally rotating will help stretch it out. Now, ironically, I've got a machine that doesn't allow a big stretch to come across the body, but that's a sacrifice I'm making for today to be efficient. So internally grab, there's only neutral grip on this particular variation, and then we drive the arms out to the side. So yeah, when doing that, you're thinking about this through here, pulling the arm that way, and then, you know, letting it back in with that as well. All right, as mentioned, 5 sets here, so we are here for a while. These are my only exercises for these muscle groups in isolation. So 5 sets, and that will do us for today. Let's finish her off. Fuck. All right, that caps off the workout, guys. So focuses for back training at the moment, upper back. Taking that beginner's mindset to the upper back and just saying, all right, you know, I'm not very good at it. How can we get our upper back to work? So some things that we incorporated today, Kelso shrugs, which is just that horizontal shrug like this. And we're currently doing it at the end of sets, almost like partial reps at the end of our full row. So finish with rows, Kelso shrugs to finish. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. And yeah, potentially we'll need to incorporate those Kelso shrugs separate from the movement, so not have it just finish off the set, but separate. And yeah, so to be completely honest, as far as this phase of training goes, I started to feel pretty shitty yesterday afternoon. So I feel like I'm at a level of leanness and part of this diet that's actually starting to have an effect. But yeah, I still have a little bit further I want to go with it, so maybe a couple of kgs more. For me, I always just have some fat that sort of sticks around the kind of lower abdominal area and lower back area. So I kind of want to see if I can lose a couple of kgs where that kind of has me sort of finish off, and then allow weight gain in a good way for a really long period of time. So yeah, starting to feel a bit shit, but again, the priority is a priority. And the priority currently is fat loss, so feeling good within training is not the priority. Being as strong as possible is not the priority. The fat loss at the moment is the priority. The other stuff is secondary, holding on to it as hard as possible, performance, strength, etc. Yes, for sure, but focus on the priority number one first, and then focus on that stuff afterwards, right? So yeah, it's not pleasing to not see your lifts go up and stuff like that. It's not pleasing to feel shitty, but you know at the end of the day it's for an outcome and it's only finite, so it's not going to last forever. So you stick with it, and again you get to the end and then you turn that around, and then you can focus on those other fun things, strength gain, feeling good within training, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty happy that, I felt pretty good up until now. Like last week, awesome. The start of this week, awesome. Yesterday afternoon, after, getting my steps in and stuff like that, oof. Just really like lack of motivation, not happy, all these kind of things. Waking up today, feeling a little bit shitty, not as enthusiastic as I've been recently. This workout not feeling as good as the last week and the start of this week. So this is all part of it. I've kind of gotten to that stage where now it's about grinding a little bit, and you just have to sort of get through it, even though it's not super pleasing, but you have an outcome in mind. So not a long period of time where, what are we, November, around about 20th, maybe a little bit before that. So take this up until Christmas and the New Year, and then I should be really good to go to kind of return to the strength phase, the muscle gain phase, all that kind of stuff. Feeling okay. All right, let's get out here. Nice quiet gym. It's been pretty quiet the whole time. That's pretty cool. If you're liking the content, guys, remember, hit the subscribe up here. Very, very helpful. Very much appreciated. If you want to watch some other long form videos, so how I'm training other muscle groups, hit the one up here. And then I've got shorts with little exercise tips and clips down here. And as always, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.